The sharp click of the hotel room door froze Ethan Walker mid-motion. He was halfway out of his clothes, one shoe off, the other still on, his jacket dangling from his hand. The clock read 11:47 p.m., and he knew for certain he hadn't ordered room service. The door swung open slowly, and in the dim light appeared a tall woman with rich brown skin and a startled look that mirrored his own. For 3 long seconds they stared at each other, the billionaire standing half-dressed in his penthouse suite, and the stranger gripping a rolling suitcase so tightly her knuckles had gone white. A key card glinted in her hand. "I think there's been a mistake," they both blurted at the same time. Ethan recovered first, awkwardly slipping his shoe back on. The woman stayed rooted in place, her gaze darting around the suite, spotting the open laptop on the desk, the whiskey glass half empty on the nightstand, his suitcase laid open on the rack. "This is my room," Ethan said firmly, trying to keep his tone even. "Suite 3001. The woman frowned and glanced down at the card in her hand. "That's impossible. The front desk just gave me this key. Suite 3001. For a moment, Ethan's mind jumped to robbery. Men like him, wealthy, high-profile, were always targets. But there was nothing staged about her bewilderment. Dressed in simple jeans and a cream sweater, hair pulled neatly into a bun, she didn't fit the image of a con artist. Still, who could say? "Let me see that," Ethan asked, holding out his hand. She hesitated before passing over the card, careful to keep her distance. It looked identical to his, same hotel logo, same silver stripe, even the same room number scrawled on the back. Ethan pulled his own card from his pocket. "See? I checked in this afternoon. Same number. Same room." The woman sighed, exhaustion written across her face. "I just got off a flight from London. It's nearly midnight. And now the hotel's apparently given me your suite." Dragging her suitcase behind her, she turned toward the hallway. "I'll head back down and straighten this out." Under normal circumstances, Ethan would have shut the door, grateful the situation hadn't been worse. That was what he always did: control, contain, move on. But something about tonight felt different. "Wait," he called after her. "I'll come with you." She stopped, clearly surprised. "Why would you do that?" It was a fair question. Why would Ethan Walker, cold, efficient CEO with a reputation for ruthlessness, walk a stranger back to the lobby at midnight? "Because it's my problem too," he said, pulling on his jacket. "And because it's the right thing to do." She studied him for a long second, then gave a small nod. "I'm Maya," she said quietly. "Maya Brooks." "Ethan Walker," he replied, extending his hand. Her grip was strong, her palm warm. "Well, Mr. Walker," she said with the faintest smile, "let's go figure out why the Grand Plaza thinks we're supposed to be roommates." In the elevator, Ethan stole quick glances at her. Despite the hour, despite the fatigue etched on her face, she stood tall with a quiet dignity that drew him in. Not just beautiful, striking. At the front desk, the night manager's expression turned from confusion to panic as soon as they explained. Fingers flew over the keyboard. "I am so terribly sorry, Ms. Brooks." "Mr. Walker. There was a system error when we upgraded Ms. Brooks' booking. It registered suite 3001 as empty when clearly it wasn't." "So where do I stay?" Maya asked evenly, though her frustration showed in her tired eyes. "We're at capacity," the manager stammered. "But the presidential suite is available. Much more expensive, of course, but we'll comp the difference." Relief softened Maya's shoulders. "That'll do. Thank you." While the manager prepped the card, Ethan found himself strangely reluctant to see her leave. "You here for the finance conference?" he asked. She nodded. "I'm presenting tomorrow. Microfinance initiatives in developing countries. My first time at something this big." She gave a small, nervous smile. "You'll do great," Ethan said before he could stop himself. Encouragement wasn't usually his style, but with her, it came naturally. The manager returned, practically bowing as he handed over the card. "Presidential suite, Ms. Brooks," Again, my sincerest apologies. Thank you. She turned to Ethan. And thank you too. You didn't have to come down with me. It was no trouble, he said, realizing how much he didn't want her to simply walk away. Before he could second-guess himself, he added, Maybe we could grab coffee tomorrow. I'd like to hear more about your work. Surprise flickered across her face, followed by a smile that lit her whole expression. You know what? I'd like that. Hotel Cafe, 9 o'clock? Perfect, Ethan agreed, feeling a ripple of anticipation he hadn't felt in years. As they rode the elevator again, he to his penthouse, she to the presidential suite, either could have guessed how much that keycard mix-up would change everything. Or that someone, somewhere, had wanted Maya Brooks in that room for a very specific reason. And now that the plan had failed, things were about to get complicated. Very complicated indeed. Relief washed over Ethan's face. Thank you, he said quietly. Don't thank me for doing the right thing, Maya replied with a small smile. Then she tilted her head, curious. Although I do wonder, how did you know Richard Hale had gotten to me so fast? I didn't, Ethan admitted. But once I traced the merger leak to a hacked email account, I found surveillance photos of us at breakfast. There were also hotel records showing your room assignment. From there, it wasn't hard to guess his next step. So the keycard mix-up. Maya started. Deliberate, Ethan confirmed grimly. Hale has connections at the hotel. He wanted you inside my suite. My guess is he had it bugged. When that failed, he switched to Plan B. A chill ran through Maya as the realization sank in. She'd been set up from the start. And the merger leak? She asked. Timed perfectly to distract me while he approached you, Ethan said. Hale's thoroughness was legendary. And dangerous. Their food arrived, but neither of them touched much of it. Instead, the conversation drifted to lighter ground, her life in London, the rare times Ethan took a break from work, books they both loved, the countries they'd visited. Maya found herself laughing at his surprisingly dry humor, and Ethan seemed genuinely absorbed by her stories from the field. When the chef insisted they try a dessert they hadn't ordered, a rich dark chocolate soufflé, Ethan leaned back and asked quietly, What happens after tomorrow? You go back to London. I stay here, knee-deep in merger fallout. The question hung in the air, heavy with unspoken possibility. I don't know, Maya admitted. This isn't at all how I imagined this conference would go. Nor I, Ethan said with a wry smile. Though strangely enough, I find it hard to regret that room key mistake. Even with everything that's followed. Their eyes met, and Maya felt the same pull she'd first sensed over morning coffee, a connection that felt far older than 24 hours. Let's survive tomorrow first, she suggested gently. Your merger. My presentation. Then we'll see what comes next. When they left the restaurant, Ethan insisted on walking her back to her suite. In the elevator, he said quietly, I should warn you, Hale won't let this go. Not when he realizes tonight didn't work. You think he'll try again? During my presentation? Maya asked. It's possible, Ethan said darkly. I've arranged extra security, but be ready for anything. They stopped outside her door. For a moment neither moved. In any other situation, Ethan murmured, This would be where I kiss you goodnight. Instead, he reached for her hand and gave it a gentle squeeze. Thank you for believing me. Not many people would have. Then those people don't know you very well, she whispered. And in that instant, she realized how badly she wanted to. When she stepped into her suite, Ethan remained in the hallway for a while, staring at the closed door, wrestling with the same question Maya was asking herself. Was it foolish to fall for someone after just a day? Someone who came from a world so different from hers. That night either of them slept well. Maya rehearsed her presentation, ensuring every claim was airtight. Ethan spent hours on calls, briefing his security team and preparing for whatever Hale might attempt. But neither of them knew Hale already had a contingency plan in motion, one that would test not only the fragile trust growing between them, but also Maya's deepest professional convictions. The conference hall buzzed with energy the next morning. Every seat was filled, unusually so for an academic talk, and whispers spread that Maya Brooks' presentation would be controversial. Backstage, Maya's heart pounded. Her slides were ready, her notes perfect, her voice steady in soundcheck, but she still felt like she was a pawn on Richard Hale's chessboard. Dr. Brooks? A conference assistant appeared. There's been a last-minute addition to your panel. Dr. Richard Hale will be joining as a discussant. Maya's stomach dropped. That wasn't approved. The committee chair authorized it. He, apparently, has relevant expertise. The assistant looked embarrassed, then hurried off before she could argue. Moments later, the moderator was introducing her. Applause rippled through the packed room. Maya walked on stage, professional smile in place, though inside she burned with frustration. From the front row, Ethan caught her eye and gave her a steady nod. She inhaled deeply and nodded back, drawing strength from his presence. Good morning, Maya began. My presentation today focuses on building transparent, ethical financial systems in developing economies. Her nerves melted as she slipped into her rhythm. For 20 minutes she spoke with conviction, weaving together data, stories from her fieldwork, and bold solutions. The audience leaned in, listening closely. Then she saw Hale take his seat at the discussant table, his smug smile waiting. When she finished to warm applause, the moderator turned to him. Dr. Hale, as our guest discussant, would you like to respond? Hale leaned forward. Thank you. Dr. Brooks' work is indeed impressive, particularly her emphasis on transparency. His lips curved, but his eyes stayed cold. However, I wonder if she could comment on the ethical issues when firms like, say, Walker Global, operate in the very markets she studies. The room stirred. Heads turned toward Ethan in the front row. Maya kept her voice calm. I don't typically name companies without full data, but from publicly available information, Walker Global has upheld strong ethical standards. Interesting. Hale purred. He clicked a remote. Behind Maya, slides appeared, emails, bank statements, photographs, the contents of the USB he'd slipped her. These documents, he declared, suggest a disturbing pattern of corruption tied directly to Ethan Walker's company. The hall went silent. Ethan's face hardened like stone. Maya's pulse thundered in her ears. She had seconds to respond before the damage became permanent. What the audience deserves, she said firmly, stepping forward, is accurate information. Not cherry-picked fragments designed to tell a lie. Her confidence built as she gestured to her laptop. Would you like to see the complete documents? A ripple of agreement swept the crowd. She plugged in her own files, the unedited records Ethan had given her, and began dissecting Hale's claims point by point. Timestamps, missing email chains, doctored figures, she exposed every flaw with precision. This isn't just about one firm, Maya said, her voice carrying through the hall. It's about the integrity of academic work. If we allow manipulated data, we fail the very communities we're supposed to serve. The audience leaned in. Even the skeptical economists began nodding. Hale flushed red, sputtering. This is absurd. No, Maya cut in, her voice ringing. This is the truth. Something your vendetta against Ethan Walker has blinded you to. Two uniformed officers appeared at the back of the hall. A guard leaned down to whisper urgently in Hale's ear. He froze, then bolted for a side exit. One officer sprinted after him. The other radioed for backup. The room exploded in whispers. The moderator stammered something about a recess. Maya's hands trembled as she gathered her notes, adrenaline finally catching up with her. Ethan was already making his way to her. He touched her arm gently. Are you okay? She gave a shaky smile. I think so. Did you bring the police? Yes, he admitted. But the way you handled him, that was all you. Brilliant, Maya. She let out a nervous laugh. It was terrifying. I said brilliant, Ethan repeated softly. His eyes shone with something deeper than admiration. And in that moment, Under the glare of spotlights, in front of a stunned academic crowd, the fragile thread between them became something stronger. Economists are trained to notice the patterns beneath the surface. After Maya said it, a quiet comfort settled between them again. The sun dipped lower, casting long golden streaks across the lake like liquid fire. I should probably take you back to the hotel, Ethan murmured at last, though he made no move to rise. Your flight to London is tomorrow, isn't it? Maya nodded, though the thought of leaving filled her with an unexpected heaviness. For a long moment their eyes held, a silent recognition that paths could either separate or merge, depending on the choices they made. Or, Ethan said carefully, you could stay here tonight. The cottage has 2 bedrooms. He added the last part quickly. You'd have privacy. And in the morning I could show you the rest of the place before driving you back. The offer lingered between them. Maya knew the sensible choice: return to the hotel, pack her things, keep the lines clear. After all, she hardly knew this man, no matter how much they'd shared in the last 2 days. Yet something deeper than reason pulled at her. A quiet tug that said there was more to discover here, about him, about them. I'd like that, she said softly. To stay. The smile that spread across his face was warm and unguarded, and it unlocked something inside her. As dusk gave way to night, they cooked a simple dinner together from the stocked kitchen. Ethan moved around the stove with practiced ease, explaining he often cooked here when escaping the pressures of his world. They ate on the porch, the air cooling around them, stars flickering awake in the dark sky. Conversation flowed with surprising ease: favorite books, travels, old ambitions. I wanted to be a pianist once, Ethan admitted, sipping his wine. I studied seriously until I was 16. What changed? Maya asked. My father's business started collapsing. I traded music for finance. He shrugged. Practical choices. Do you still play? She asked gently. A shadow flickered across his face. No. Not for years. Maya caught the flicker of pain but didn't press. Instead, she told him about her childhood outside Philadelphia, the daughter of 2 teachers who encouraged her fascination with economics even when they didn't fully understand it. They were so proud when I got the position at UCL, she said with a smile. Even though it meant moving across an ocean. They sound like wonderful parents, Ethan observed. They are. So different from each other, my dad analytical, my mom artistic, but together they're balanced. They've been married 35 years and still hold hands when they walk. That's rare, Ethan said. To keep that connection. It is, Maya agreed. But watching them, I learned some things are worth having faith in, even when the odds are against you. Their eyes met in the glow of the porch light. Silence stretched, filled only by the rustle of leaves and the hum of crickets. Finally, Ethan stood, collecting their plates. It's late. Let me show you your room. The guest room was cozy, with a patchwork quilt on the bed and fresh flowers on the nightstand. Ethan handed her one of his t-shirts to sleep in and pointed out extra towels in the adjoining bathroom. If you need anything, I'll be just down the hall, he said. Thank you, Maya replied softly. For all of this, the dinner, the quiet, everything. You're welcome. He lingered at the door. Good night, Maya. Good night, Ethan. Alone, Maya slipped into his oversized shirt, the hem brushing her knees. She crawled into bed but sleep refused to come. Instead, her mind replayed every moment with him, the trust in his eyes when he handed her his flash drive, the ache in his voice when he spoke of his father, the way he looked at her across the dinner table like he was memorizing her. Down the hall, Ethan stood by his window, staring out at the moonlit garden his grandmother once tended. In barely 2 days, Maya Brooks had pierced defenses he'd spent decades fortifying. What was it about her that made him want to let those walls fall? And what would happen when she left tomorrow? The questions kept them both awake as midnight slipped past. Eventually, Maya pulled on a blanket and padded quietly toward the kitchen, hoping a glass of water might settle her restless thoughts. The moonlight poured in through the windows as she filled her glass. A floorboard creaked. She turned to see Ethan in the doorway, hair tousled, pajama pants and t-shirt hanging loosely on him. I couldn't sleep, he admitted. Neither could I, she confessed. He poured himself water, then leaned on the counter near her. Too much on your mind? Something like that. She studied him in the silver light. You know what I keep thinking? How different everything would be if I hadn't walked into your hotel room by mistake. She shook her head. Such a small thing, but it changed everything. Ethan set his glass down and stepped closer. Do you regret it? No, she said instantly. Do you? Not for a second. Now he stood directly in front of her, close enough she could feel his warmth. Maya, he said softly. She met his gaze, and whatever he saw in her eyes made him reach out slowly, giving her the choice to pull away. Instead, she leaned in, erasing the space between them. Their first kiss was tentative, almost cautious. The second was not. His arms wrapped around her waist, hers around his neck, the blanket slipping forgotten to the floor. Years of loneliness melted away in that moment. Neither of them had been searching for this, but somehow they'd found it. When their lips finally parted, Ethan rested his forehead against hers. I don't want you to leave tomorrow. I know, she whispered. But I have responsibilities. A life in London. And I have mine here, he admitted. So where does that leave us? Maya brushed her fingers along his cheek, feeling the stubble of late-night exhaustion. I don't know. But I'm not ready to give up on finding out. He smiled faintly, kissing her palm. Then we won't give up. We'll figure it out. They whispered like teenagers sneaking conversations in the dark, eventually curling up together on the sofa as dawn painted the sky. And somewhere in those hours, as Maya leaned her head against Ethan's chest and his arm held her close, she realized something. Faith and love wasn't about certainty or odds. It was about recognizing possibility and daring to explore it, even when reason said not to. Morning light streamed through the cottage windows. Maya stirred first, listening to the steady beat of Ethan's heart beneath her ear. For a moment, everything felt dreamlike: the wrong keycard, Hale's scheme, the conference showdown, and now this fragile closeness she hadn't expected. Ethan blinked awake, tightening his arm around her. Good morning, he murmured, voice rough with sleep. Morning, she said, reluctantly sitting up. I think we literally talked ourselves to sleep. He smiled, brushing a strand of hair from her face. The tenderness in the gesture made her chest ache. Hungry? I make decent pancakes. In the kitchen, they moved around each other as if they'd done it 100 times before. He whisked batter, she sliced fruit, the smell of fresh coffee filling the cottage. On the porch, they ate while watching the mists rise from the lake. Neither mentioned her flight, though the thought hovered between them. Finally, Ethan broke the silence. I've been thinking. Dangerous, Maya teased gently. Ethan smiled. Maybe. But I've realized something these past 2 days. He set his coffee mug down and turned fully toward her. My life, the one I've built so carefully, it looks successful to everyone else. But until you walked into my hotel room, I hadn't noticed how empty it had become. Maya felt her pulse quicken. Let me finish, Ethan said softly. I'm not naive enough to think 2 days can tell us everything we need to know. But I do know I don't want to just say goodbye at the airport, and hope fate takes care of the rest. What are you suggesting? She asked carefully. Come back, he said simply. Not forever. Not yet. But soon. Spend a week, maybe longer, whatever you can manage around teaching. Let's give this a real chance. Maya turned her gaze out toward the lake. The practical obstacles were undeniable. Her position at UCL, his empire at Walker Investments, an entire ocean separating their lives. Yet the thought of returning to London as if none of this had happened felt unthinkable. I could come back during my term break, she said slowly. It's in 3 weeks. Hope sparked in his eyes. How long could you stay? 2 weeks, maybe 3 if I shuffle things with the department. 3 weeks? He repeated, almost pained. That feels like forever. She smiled, taking his hand. I think we both need some space to process everything. To be sure this is real and not just a reaction to everything we've been through. Ethan nodded, conceding to her wisdom. You're right. And 3 weeks gives me time to clean up the fallout from Hale and the merger. What will happen to him? She asked quietly. At minimum? Charges for hacking and corporate espionage. But men like him rarely see much jail time. His reputation's ruined, though. For Richard Hale, that might be worse than prison. He hesitated. As for the merger, it'll go forward, but every step will be scrutinized. Long hours ahead. Maya gave a tired laugh. I have a grand proposal due. Papers to grade. Committee meetings. Their eyes met, filled with understanding. Two people with demanding lives, both trying to make room for something fragile and precious. We'll need to be intentional, Ethan said. Yes, she agreed, squeezing his hand. But I think it's worth it. He leaned in, kissed her softly, and whispered, Definitely worth it. The rest of the day slipped by too quickly. They wandered the gardens his grandmother had once tended, walked the wooded paths, and shared pieces of their childhoods. Every story Ethan told gave Maya a clearer picture of the man behind the headlines. And every laugh they shared carved him deeper into her heart. By midday, reality called them back. Her flight to London. His empire demanding attention. I should get you back, Ethan said reluctantly, checking his watch. You'll need time to pack before your car to the airport. Yes, Maya replied, trying to ignore the ache in her chest. On the drive, Ethan's phone rang through the car speakers. He glanced at the display. It's my office. Mind if I take it? Of course not. Walker, he answered, voice shifting instantly into business mode. Ethan, we've got a problem. His CFO's tense voice filled the car. The Horizon board just called an emergency meeting. Hale planted enough doubt before his arrest that they're reconsidering the terms. Ethan's grip tightened on the wheel. When? 2 hours. I'll be there. He ended the call, then turned to Maya with regret in his eyes. I'm sorry. Don't be, she said quickly. This is your company. Your responsibility. I understand. It means I can't take you to the airport myself? Ethan, it's fine, she assured him. I can get there. I've managed far more complicated things than catching a flight. He smiled faintly. I know you have. I just wanted more time. We'll have time, she promised. 3 weeks isn't so long. When they pulled into the hotel's drive, Ethan took both her hands. Call me when you land. I don't care what time it is. I will. He leaned across the console, kissing her with an intensity that held all the things they couldn't say, the fear, the hope, the wild surprise of finding each other at all. 3 weeks. He whispered against her lips. 3 weeks. She confirmed, forcing herself to pull away before her resolve faltered. As his car drove off, doubt flickered through her. Was she being reckless? Falling for a man she'd known only 2 days? A man whose world barely resembled her own? But then she thought of his honesty in the moonlight. The vulnerability in his voice when he spoke of his father. The way he looked at her as if she mattered. Some things, she decided, were worth believing in, even against the odds. 3 weeks later Ethan stood at the arrival's gate, scanning every face. And then, there she was. Maya, suitcase trailing behind, exhaustion in her step but a smile that made his heart slam like it hadn't in years. She spotted him instantly, her expression lighting up in a way that erased the terminal noise, the buzzing phones, the endless chatter. Welcome back, he said when she reached him. It's good to be back, she replied warmly. As he took her suitcase with one hand and her free hand with the other, Ethan Walker felt something he hadn't known in years. A sense of home, not in a place, but in a person. The late autumn rain streaked the windows of Ethan's penthouse, a soft soundtrack to their quiet evening. Maya was curled on the sofa, student dissertations spread across her lap, a pen twirling in her hand. Across the room, Ethan worked at his desk, stealing glances at her. 2 weeks into her visit, they had settled into a rhythm, work by day, dinners out or nights in by evening. Comfortably separate yet completely together. That night, after dinner, Ethan stepped onto the balcony with her. The city lights glimmered below, stars peeking faintly above. "I have something for you," he said, pulling a small box from his pocket. Maya's eyes widened. "Ethan?" He opened it, not a ring, but a delicate silver key on a chain. "It's to the cottage," he explained quietly. "I want you to know you're welcome there any time. Even if I can't be with you. It should be your sanctuary, too." Her throat tightened as she held the key, understanding what it meant. The cottage wasn't just a place, it was his soul, the one space he never shared with anyone else. "Thank you," she whispered, tears bright in her eyes. "I'll treasure it." He fastened the chain around her neck, then kissed her with all the words he wasn't yet ready to speak. When they parted, she looked at him steadily. "We'll make this work. Somehow." "Yes," he agreed firmly. "We will." The next morning, the airport felt heavier than either expected. Standing at the security checkpoint, Maya clutched the key like a lifeline. 3 months, Ethan said, holding both her hands. "Christmas break. You'll come back." 3 months, she repeated. "We can handle that." Their goodbye kiss was fierce and brief, a promise, not an ending. As she disappeared past security, Ethan felt the hollow ache of loss. And on the plane, staring out at the endless ocean, Maya knew the logic didn't favor them, different continents, careers, worlds. But her hand kept drifting to the key resting against her heart. And with it came faith that, somehow, they'd find their way. By December, London was bitterly cold. Maya hurried across campus, coat pulled tight against the wind, her phone buzzing in her pocket. She ducked under a stone archway and answered, already smiling. "Hey you. Hey yourself." Ethan's voice warmed her across the miles. "How's the distinguished professor today?" "Not officially distinguished yet," she teased. "Just freezing and drowning in paperwork." "Sounds glamorous. Want to trade? I've got back-to-back board meetings till 9. They chatted a few stolen minutes, about her students, his latest deal, the countdown to Christmas when they'd finally be together again. 13 days, she reminded him. "I'm counting every hour," he said. "I miss you, Maya." "I miss you too," she replied softly. "Talk tomorrow?" "Wouldn't miss it." She ended the call, tucking the phone away, fingers brushing the key hidden beneath her blouse. It had become her quiet ritual, a reminder of him. As she headed toward her office, she spotted Professor Winters, the department chair, waving her over. "Dr. Brooks, a moment please." Maya changed direction, joining Professor Winters by the coffee machine. "Good morning, Professor Winters." "Good morning, Maya. I have excellent news." Winters handed her a steaming cup, her eyes twinkling. "The committee reached a unanimous decision. The distinguished research chair is yours, if you want it." Maya nearly fumbled the cup. "Already? I thought the decision wouldn't come until next term." "We saw no reason to wait," Winters explained warmly. "Your work on financial transparency in developing economies has gained international attention. The university is eager to support you further." She lowered her voice conspiratorially. "Between us, the Vice-Chancellor personally pushed to fast-track your appointment." Maya's throat tightened. "I'm honored," she said, genuinely moved. "There's one more piece," Winters continued. "The Odin Foundation has offered to fund an expansion of your research. 3 years, multiple countries, full team, generous budget. The opportunity of a lifetime." Maya's mind spun. The Odin Foundation. The most prestigious backer in her field. The kind of grant that could shape a career forever. "The full proposal's in your inbox," Winters added. "They want your answer by New Year's." "Thank you," Maya managed, though her thoughts were already racing. The rest of the day blurred by. Back in her office, Maya opened the Odin Foundation's proposal. It was ambitious, global, and perfectly aligned with her research goals. Exactly what she had dreamed of. But it meant postponing her Christmas with Ethan. The initial meetings were set for the very weeks they were supposed to be together. That evening, she requested a video call instead of their usual quick check-in. When Ethan's face appeared, his smile faded instantly at her expression. "What's wrong?" he asked. She told him everything: the chair appointment, the Odin Foundation grant, the conflict. As she spoke, she watched his face, seeing pride battle with disappointment. "This is incredible," he said at last. "You deserve every bit of it." "But it means changing our plans," Maya said softly. "The meetings can't be moved. Experts from all over the world are flying in." Ethan was silent for a long moment, jaw tightening. "When would we see each other?" "February," she admitted. "Reading week. That's the soonest." 2 months, he murmured, not hiding his disappointment. "I'm sorry," she said, torn in 2 directions. "I know we were both counting on Christmas together." Ethan straightened, slipping on that calm, controlled expression she'd seen when he faced business crises. "Don't apologize. This is important. I understand. We'll adjust." But his voice told her he was struggling more than he let on. Their conversation turned to logistics, his February schedule, the possibility of him visiting London in January. Practical. Sensible. Missing the warmth their calls usually carried. That night, Maya lay awake with a knot in her stomach. Could their connection survive not just distance, but competing demands pulling them apart? The next morning, her call went to voicemail. Later, a text: "Sorry. Emergency board meeting. Talk tomorrow." The next day, another message. Then another. Always polite, always with legitimate reasons, but each one creating more distance. Their daily calls turned to every other day, then less. And when they did speak, their conversations were careful, surface level. A week before Christmas, Maya sat in her London flat, staring at her phone. Ethan had cancelled their video call again. "A client crisis," he said. She understood, of course she did. But understanding didn't ease the ache. Her hand went instinctively to the key around her neck. And suddenly she couldn't bear it. She opened her laptop, booked a flight, and decided she wasn't going to spend Christmas oceans away. She had turned in her grades. The Odin meetings didn't start until after the holiday. It was impulsive, maybe foolish, but she needed to see him. To remind them both what they had. She didn't tell him she was coming. 26 hours later, snow crunched under her boots as Maya stepped out of her rental car in front of Ethan's cottage. The whole hillside was blanketed in white, glowing under the soft lights from the windows. Inside, she knew, he was likely hiding from the storm of work, just as he always did. Heart pounding, she pulled the key from around her neck and slid it into the lock. It turned smoothly. The cottage was warm and familiar, the crackle of the fire, the pine scent of a Christmas tree, cinnamon lingering in the air. It felt like coming home, though she had only been here once before. "Ethan?" she called. A sound came from the kitchen. A moment later, he appeared in the doorway, coffee mug in hand, his face registering shock. "Maya? What? How? You gave me a key," she reminded him gently, touching the chain at her throat. "And I couldn't stay away." For one breathless second, she worried she'd miscalculated. Then the mug hit the side table, and in 3 strides he had her in his arms. The kiss that followed was desperate, hungry, all the words they hadn't spoken in weeks. When they finally broke apart, both breathless, he leaned his forehead against hers. "I thought I'd lost you," he whispered. "Why would you think that?" He pulled her to the sofa, holding her hand like he was afraid she might vanish. "You have this incredible opportunity, everything you've worked for. And I've been selfishly wishing you'd turn it down just to be with me. I pulled back because I didn't want to force you to choose." "Oh, Ethan," Maya said softly, understanding dawning. "I never saw it as a choice. Not between you and my career." "Didn't you?" he asked quietly. 3 years across multiple countries. The chair position in London. Me tied here to Walker Investments. How is that not a choice?" It isn't, she said firmly. It's a challenge. One we figure out together. She took both his hands. I already accepted the chair. But I haven't given Odin my final answer. Because I wanted to talk to you first. Really talk. Not through a screen. Not between cancelled calls. She drew a deep breath. I love my work. But these last months have shown me something else. I love you too. The words hung between them. Ethan's eyes widened, then softened. I love you, Maya. More than I ever thought I could love anyone. Relief and joy washed over her. Then we figure this out. Maybe the project can be structured differently. Maybe. He kissed her gently, cutting her off. Maybe we stop solving tonight. You're here. That's what matters. The next day, winter sunlight streamed into the cottage. They cooked breakfast, walked the frozen lake, and talked about everything: fears, hopes, dreams. By evening, Maya was curled against Ethan by the fire, the Christmas tree glowing in the corner. I've been thinking, Ethan said, breaking the quiet. About us. About the future. Maya looked up. What would you think about Carter Investments opening a European headquarters in London? He asked carefully. Not a branch. A real base. Her eyes widened. You're serious? Completely. The Horizon merger makes London the logical choice. And yes, having you there is personal motivation. I'd still need to travel, but I could spend half my time in London. Hope bloomed in her chest. And the Odin project? She asked. We'll support it fully, he said without hesitation. Your research, my company, will make the schedules work. It won't be perfect, but it could work. It could definitely work, she whispered, pulling him close. Outside, snow fell softly. Inside, wrapped in each other's arms, they began planning a future neither had dared to imagine the night a wrong key card had thrown them together. 1 year later. The Grand Plaza Hotel's ballroom glittered with holiday lights for the International Finance Conference Gala. Maya sipped champagne at a corner table, watching Ethan across the room. He caught her eye, excused himself from colleagues, and returned to her side. Sorry, he said. Marcus needed a decision on Singapore. No apology needed, she said warmly, laying her hand over his. Their lives had changed so much in a year. Maya's name now gleamed on her office door at UCL as Distinguished Research Chair. Her Odin Foundation project was well underway. Ethan had opened his European headquarters in London, dividing his time between continents. And together they had made the cottage their sanctuary. It just hit me, Ethan said, glancing around the ballroom. This is the same hotel where we met. Room 3001. Maya smiled. Think they ever fixed their keycard system? Let's not test it, he joked, squeezing her hand. A few minutes later, he leaned closer, voice low. What do you think about skipping the rubber chicken dinner? I want to show you something. Intrigued, Maya nodded. He led her upstairs to the 30th floor, stopping outside a familiar door. Ethan, she said slowly. Indulge me, he replied, sliding in a keycard. Inside, the suite was transformed, candles glowing, rose petals scattered, a table set for two by the window overlooking the city. What is this? She whispered. Full circle, he said, taking her hands. 1 year ago, a mix-up brought you into my room. Tonight I want to show you what that accident really meant to me. He dropped to one knee, pulling out a velvet box. Inside, an emerald ring sparkled. Maya Brooks, he said, steady and sure. I love you, your brilliance, your compassion, your strength. Will you marry me? Tears filled her eyes. Yes, she whispered. Yes, Ethan, I will. He slid the ring onto her finger, pulled her into his arms, and kissed her as the city glittered around them. Later, as they lay together in the very suite where it all began, Maya rested her head on Ethan's chest. Funny, isn't it? She murmured. A wrong keycard. That's all it took. Not wrong, Ethan corrected, pressing a kiss to her hair. Exactly the right one. And with that they both knew, Some beginnings, no matter how improbable, were always meant to lead exactly here.